Good evening and welcome to the Voice Spotlight. We have another author on today that came to us by way of Matthew Horn. I've been trying to get her on for a while, but she's busy. I've been busy, but we finally make it. So, Miss Phyllis Banks, how
Yes,
are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me.
It's all my pleasure. It's always nice to meet new people, and it's always nice to meet authors. I've met several. So, if everyone would look, flanking Miss Banks is her two books, but I do have copies that she has so graciously, let me get my camera together, provided for me, and I have read both. Um, when I became aware of Miss Banks, I talked to her about, or started out with the Runaway Books reunion, and then I found out it was a one before that, and she so graciously provided that to me. So I really appreciate it.
You are quite welcome.
So before we get into the books, who is Phyllis Banks?
Phyllis Banks is a very, very busy lady. No, Phyllis Banks was grew up and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. That's where I originated from. I'm a middle child of four siblings. Uh, I was married to my beloved husband, Luther, for 54 years, who passed in 2023.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I am called Mommy by two grown sons, Nana by three grown grandsons, and Nana B by three young great grandchildren.
Wow.
Yes, I have been a resident here in Hampton, Virginia for over 40 years. I have been employed here at the Harvey Library for 18 years as a library clerk. Um, I'm a member of the Mayor's Book Club of Hampton, Virginia. That's what we do with the Mayor's Book Club. I go to different schools here in the area, elementary schools, and I read to the children from kindergarten to second grade,
That's
which I love. I love reading. I have enjoyed reading when I was growing up as a child, coming home from the second grade, lining my baby dolls up on my bed, thinking I was teaching them and reading to them. Because, back in the day, all we had was See Spot Run. That was our books,
right, right.
2 or 3 pages. But they were good books. They taught us to start reading. My parents instilled reading in all of us, and I just enjoy reading. That's just one of my passions, and
Good.
especially to the young.
That's very worthwhile. That might have answered one of my questions, but we're going to get into it anyway. So,
Okay.
um, you have two books that I know of. Are there
Yes.
others?
Those are the only two publications that I do have. Yes.
Okay, so that leads to the question, have you always wanted to be an author, or is this something that came about?
Never in my wildest dream did I ever think I would be a published author. No, I didn't. I always thought my future would be in teaching. That didn't come about either. And I was like, wow, an author, me write a book, but it happened. And the story behind that is very touching because I process all of the different periodicals here. I'm the first to see whatever comes in for our collection. And this one particular day, this is a true story, I was sitting at my desk processing some juvenile books. And all of a sudden, this little voice said to me, You can do that. And I'm looking around. I can do what? And I just kept on doing the processing of the books. And the little voice came again. You can do that. And I said, write a book? Never in my wildest dream. And then from that point on, I went to my computer, Mr. Spencer, this is really shocking. And I just started typing. I just started typing. Whenever it started popping into my mind, I just started typing. And I said, okay, it's going to be about the library because this is where I work. That was my theme. I came up with the theme. Then I kept saying, okay, I got a theme. It's coming from the library, but where do I go with this theme? Started typing again. Books running away from the library. And that's how it started.
And you answered several questions. So, um, one of the questions would have been what was the catalyst for the book, and let's just call it divine intervention.
Yes.
Um, so we know how the books came about, or the book, because I'm sure you didn't know at the time, or did you know at the time that you had two books, or did you just go with the one and just kind of let it flow?
No, it strictly was the one book,
Okay.
just the one book.
All right. So we know how it came about per se. Um, Even though, like we said, it was divine intervention, was there any inspiration for the first book?
I guess my inspiration came from reading over a period of years to the Child Development Center here on campus. I also work with their curriculum. I go over and I read to the children on different occasions, different holidays. And then, two, like I said before, being affiliated with the Mayor's Book Club of Hampton, being engaging with all these young children. You know what I'm saying? That was it. That could I could actually say that was most of my inspiration to continue to put my best foot forward in being a publisher author for this first book.
So again, you're into my questions. So that's why a children's book, what you were doing previously before the writing, the atmosphere that you were used to working in, that's why the children's book.
Yeah, the landscape of being here at the Harvey Library here at Hampton University was really a true uh, push, to give me that inspiration and that to go ahead and say, okay, you can do this. Let's do it. Just keep typing away whenever you get a chance. Jot things down wherever you are. I would actually get up in the middle of the night. I was sitting there and had a tablet by my bed. If something clicked with me, and I would write it down. I didn't want to lose sight of what I was, focusing on, where I was going with this book. If I was in the restaurant, if I didn't have my tablet, I write it on the tissue, paper towel, anything, just to keep my momentum going to make sure I didn't lose sight of what I was wanting to write down.
Okay.
And it's just the fact too of coming up with the characters, books being my framework books. I took books and I made them my characters of the book. That was just that was just exciting.
And you are stepping all in my questions.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But it's good because it helps this flow and I'm learning. I like that it seems to be a passion. I like that of where you went with it, and I'm going to still get into my questions. So even though you so graciously um, provided your books to me, I see on Amazon it's listed from 3 to 6, but I found out, and if people have looked at me before and know my history, and if they look over my shoulder, they might see Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel over there. But I'm a comic book guy, so I didn't read it. I read it but it's not, and I'll tell the people that are listening, it's not just for 3 to 6. That might have been the target audience, but the way the books are written, the vernacular, that is one of my questions too, that we'll get into. I think anybody would uh, appreciate the book. So I say that to say it might say in Amazon it's 3 to 6, but and I'll be passing these down to my grandson. But by that same token, I think that it's a good read. And it's a good read because of a couple of reasons, and I'll get into that. But I wanted to get into after I read it, then I start flipping through because I'm trying to find out who the illustrator was. And you were the illustrator as well.
Yes, what I did after they would, after the illustrator joined in with the books, every time he would illustrate something and send it to me, I would say, no, I want, this should be, and I appreciated him doing that, you know, and it helped me learn a lot about illustrating as well, you know. So I, I just enjoyed being part of my whole process of my book, from the writing to the illustration. No illustration was not done until I said, oh no, we're going to, this is what I want. We go back to the drawing board, and that's what happened.
So you didn't plan on being an author, but you didn't plan on being an illustrator as well.
No, no, no. This it's another thing. I'm trying to take, I, I, it just blew my mind to even think about becoming an author. But I said, you know what? God has a plan for all of us, and He brings out the talent in you. You may be scared, put your best foot forward in obeying, but this time Phyllis Banks obeyed.
I'm constantly under, I won't say barrage, but I'm constantly under something that I used to write for a blog, and my sister Belinda Lane, she think there's a whole book in there. I don't know. It hasn't spoke to me yet. I enjoyed doing what I did, but it hasn't spoke to me yet. So, but I like I said, talked to several authors, including Belinda, and that well, like you said, there's a business in everybody, there's a book in everybody, there's something in everybody, whatever it is for them to be. So I believe you wholeheartedly because, like I said, reading both of these, I enjoyed them. But reading both of them, the characters, and they can see here that for the main character, you have four main characters. We have Tiptoe, Bebop, Crafty,
Happy
and Hoop, right?
who?
Okay. So just before this, and I have to give my wife credit when credit is due. Just before this, we were having lunch, and I always ask her, this is who I'm interviewing, this is why I'm interviewing, and I set it all up. And I wanted to know about the different characters, but she wanted to know, how did you come up with these four characters when there is so many other ones? I mean, you have the book thing, but Hoop and Crafty, they're and the four of them, they're very individualized. Why these four?
I think I thought about who, street, bebop, b-ball. So many young men love basketball. I could visualize them on the court playing basketball, and here's who to show up. You like the game. but you don't like reading. So I'm going to adventure in your life and I'm going to bring you into whatever you like.
Okay, okay. All right.
That's how I did Ruth. Then Tippy Toe, being in dance while I was a young child, in dance in school and different like that, gymnastics and all that. I said, little girls love tutu. You know, let's put a ballerina in the book. Let
Okay.
me bring that up just for a little girl. And then crafty, my son Brian, growing up, he was such a great artist, putting stuff on paper, stuff in, just loved drawing. He loved that. And he's excellent at it now, being a grown adult. But I said, you know what? Kids also love to draw. Take their imagination wherever they want it to go as far as drawing. Let's put a craft in it. And then music. I grew up with music through my parents, jazz. They can still jazz things, like these kids love music. It's a problem with that as far as I'm concerned with children. They can rap and sing every rap note from every rapper, but they don't want to read. Let me bring all four of these characters in my book to give children the opportunity to read about what they enjoy. Read about what you enjoy. Reading is fun, reading is exciting. Let your imagination grow from what you want to be and let your dreams come true.
So in your characters, there was a little bit of your son and a little bit of you in the other ones as well.
Yes,
Okay. So we have you coming from New Jersey
yeah,
into Virginia.
yeah,
We have a library because a library it doesn't take a central point in it, but it all starts in a library in the book.
yeah,
And you're familiar with a library. So I see where that came from. But you're from New Jersey,
yes,
based in Virginia,
yes.
but you based the book in Washington, D.C. So for the location, did you use D.C. for its historical value or that its landmarks? How or why did you put it in DC as opposed to Hampton?
It's something about the district that I love. I visit there quite often, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I like the history of it, like you say, the story of it, the museums, everything. And believe it or not, this is another story I'm going to tell you about my book. I was visiting the National African American Museum before my book was published. And I met this beautiful, beautiful person. And if you notice in my first book, at the end it says 5 green tomatoes.
I was going to ask you about that because that didn't make sense to me, but go ahead.
She and I crossed paths several times while in the museum. Reva Burris Barnes is her name. When I was getting ready, she said to me, girl, have you tried these 5 green tomatoes? They are the best. We were down in the cafeteria area of the museum.
Right.
I said, no, but I'm sure going to go over here and get in line to get me some. So she was leaving. She said, did you get them tomatoes? I said, yes, I did. She said, how'd you like them? I said, girl, nothing but the truth. You was telling the truth about them tomatoes. So she said, take my business card. I took her business. Come to find out, she was a publicist. Maybe 2, 3 days in, I gave her a call. We talked, we conversed about me having a book I wanted to have published. Send me your manuscript. This is what she said to me. And I did. That's how it got in the hands of Matthew Horn.
Wow. Networking
That's
and divine
a
intervention.
divine invention.
Yep. So I said, I was like, Queen Tomatoes, I gotta ask her about that. So now I know that. That again, just that strikes off another question that I had. Okay, so we've talked about the central characters of the book, but I read the reunion book first. And in the reunion book, we meet Zoella Bumpus. So, um, like I said, I'm a comic book guy, so I know art, I know storyline, and I know characters. But you provided me the first book and then the reunion book. And I have to say, only on me, Miss Bumpus is my favorite character. So when she comes in, she sort of adds a flavor to it. Not that it lacked before, but maybe like you, I could relate to Zoella. Maybe that I think I could relate to her more and who she was and what she did in the book. Well, of course, I'm not telling anybody, but so I guess the question would be, um, we have the four characters from the first book. It goes into the second book, which is, and if anybody knows me, I'm a series guy, so I like series, whether it's two, three, four, five. But when you brought in Miss Bumpus, did you intentionally skew her toward to be the focal point of the book? Was that intentional, or is it just something in my mind?
Yes and no.
Okay, let's hear yes and no.
Luella, she's something.
Yes, she is.
I said, I have to put somebody in this book that is going to blow my reader's mind about this. So I'm gonna use the word funky woman that she's just all over the place, but she got to see my thing about her with all of this. Don't judge a book by its cover. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Am I right?
right, right, right.
Don't
But it's
judge a
dealing
book.
with the books,
You
so
still with
okay.
the yes, don't judge a book by its cover. And I just I was just so I don't know. When I started writing about her, I said, okay, we're gonna have to do something really, really special with Zorella. Don't look. And I thought about a couple friends that might have played in a little bit
That
about
was the
her.
question too. Was there
You know,
inspiration for her, or is
you
she
know,
a combination of people?
she's a combination of a lot of
Okay,
friends. Look, a lot of friends. I might have a little bit of a look
okay,
myself. You know what I'm saying?
right,
But I just needed something to actually, like you said, bring the book to more life. You know what I'm saying? I really did. I really did. My second book, I really did. And to work in the fact of them, my books, my four books, reunion, becoming a reunion.
okay,
But I had to like start it in a different way for them to become a reunion. Yes.
okay. So, um, one of the things I said I would get back to, and I'm getting back to it now, is the writing. So the writing, like you said, you wrote it for children. It's not 100% for children. I can say that.
No, and you
Well,
and you and you're correct about that.
mhm.
This book, anybody can read this book. It's not just based on age. It really truly isn't. I can say that as well.
Right.
It really isn't. I really think that whoever gets a chance to read it will understand what the both of us are saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So, um, you did most of the characters are African American. With the exception of the books, they're who they are. But it's this is what I was going to get back to is the vernacular, the way you had them talk. Um, it again, if a young African American reads the book, they hear and talk the way they talk, the way they hear it. But even in the phrasing, someone other than African American can relate to how they're talking, what they're talking about, and how it comes across. So it's not only the book is not confined to a certain age. It's not, even though they're African American characters written by an African American person, it's not confined to just an African American to read.
Yes, that's very true. It's not. Um, I think too that by me implementing one of the books as I think it's the artist crafty. He's more like a little Chinese something, he has a little slanted eyes and stuff
Mhm,
like that.
mhm, mhm.
I try to bring a little diversity in the book,
Okay,
saying I did, you
okay.
know, but I have gotten so much really great feedback from my books. I really have. And I'm happy about that, you know. And I hope eventually down the line I can make it a series. I don't know whenever it hits me to say, okay, it's time for you to start writing again. It's nothing that I just start doing. I don't do that. I
Hmm.
it has to like punch me, like
Right,
to do
right.
that.
Because sometimes if we push yourself along, you just won't get that same flavor.
I won't get the flavor, like what
Right.
you're saying. I really won't. But I really do enjoy writing. I really do. My biggest thing is the fact that I can walk into somebody that come into these young kids' lives or anybody's lives and bring that imagination, to bring that wanting to read, to have fun to read. This is how I feel about it, even with teachers and stuff. You may be right now in your classroom talking about trucks or cars or whatever you're presenting to your students or whatever. Now here's Sally sitting over here, and you want her to read this book. Here's Job here, but Sally may not be into the truck book. She may want you to bring another flavor to her in order to read, to have her own imagination, to do to accomplish whatever you want your student to do as far as reading. You understand where I'm going with that?
Hmm. Hmm.
But all children don't grasp the feeling of wanting to read if it's not interesting to them. They won't,
Exactly.
if it's not holding their interest or anything like that, they don't want to read. The book's going to be put down. I don't like that book. That's why I portrayed it, the books that I did, and brought them into the lives of the children to show them reading is fun, reading is important, it's educational. If this is what you want to read.
I noticed that it wasn't any one single, even though I like Zola, there isn't one central character really, because even when you start off with the Runaway books, because Zoella doesn't come into the second book, but even in that, you give that personality and you give them all time in the book. So if there's a guy that just say is a girl or boy that's into art, then they have crafty. They may not be into art, but they might be into music. So
Yes,
then they'll run into bebop, and the same thing with hoop and tippy toe. So I like that, and I noticed that even though I read the second book first and then went back, I had noticed that everybody received enough times so that if this is what you were looking for, you got it in there. And then it's just like anything else. It's it's like a sale. And I don't know if people realize this. They'll throw several things on sale in the market for to bring you into the market. But when
Yes,
you're in there, you'll see something else and something else and something else and something else. So I figured with the book, whatever character you related to, that character interacts with the other characters, and then you get a little bit of that to bleed through. Even though you may not have been interested at first, you will find yourself interested in it because that's a character with that book, and you want to see why that character is saying or doing what they're doing. So I think you were very methodical in that, and that everybody had a part, nobody was pushed down, and it's something to really grasp onto once you grasp it.
yes, yes, yes.
So again, back to the wife and me having lunch and asking her, she came up with another interesting questions, and she comes up with them every now and then. I would, well, she'll see this, so anyway, um, her question was, what do you want children to take away from the individual character which you talked about, or what do you want children to take away from the book as a whole?
The takeaway from the book as a whole is just engage yourself in reading. You do not have to start off with a great big book. It could be a little thin book, but make sure it's something that you're interested in reading to build up your character in it, to feel like you're part of the book as well. You know what I'm saying? You can make sure that you involve your family as well to sit down with you, to read with you out loud, you know, and to just overall just enjoy reading, read. And that's about what it is, just about reading and having fun doing it. And to know that it's educational. And you know that we all need to read, you know, and especially the young kids, they it doesn't take that much time for you to take time to sit down and read to your children. You know what I'm saying? 20 minutes a day, you as parents with your children, just engage, read with them, find out what they want to read, and make it fun for them. It's fun. Reading is fun.
Oh, it definitely is. Now, I mean, and I have to admit that because I'm always moving and going somewhere, I'm probably listening to audio more than reading the way I used to. I am still a comic collector. I don't buy as much as I used to. Um, but that's where my reading started. I started collecting comics at 7 and I started reading at 7. And I think my again, the way I spoke, what I did, the way I wrote, everything was because I was started reading comics at
Right,
7 years old.
right.
So that really pushed me ahead.
And it pushes you ahead.
It
Yeah.
does. So we're down to our last two questions, and these are going to be technical. Um, and it's a curiosity to me. I know how you came up with writing the book, and we'll just deal with the first one because I'm sure the second one was easier than the first. Once you felt that, and you said that you started typing and you writing down ideas, um, once you made up your mind from the first typed word or note to its publication, how was that journey for you?
It was scary in the beginning. It really was to know, am I going to be able to finish this publication? Now, writing is not easy, especially a children's book.
I know, I know.
it really is not at all. I don't want people to think it is because I I laid it down so many times and I said, you're never going to finish this, but why, just don't worry about it. But maybe it's not what you're really supposed to be doing. And so I would actually just put it to the side a lot. I really did. I think from the time I started writing this book, it took me about over a year or a half to actually get it published because I kept procrastinating, not finishing it and doing, I don't know. I guess I got brain fog from trying to think or trying to get something to pop, keep it going, but I said, no, we can't do this, Phyllis. I said, this is something that was pressed on your heart to do and go ahead and finish it. You know what I'm saying? And I think what what really made me feel like how important it was after I did finish, a Sala group invited me to an author signing at the Renaissance Hotel in DC, my very first book signing. That was so overwhelming to me to be among all these other scholar authors. You know what I'm saying? And I said, oh no. I said, okay, okay, this is it. This is it. I mean, it was just overwhelming to me. But
So, which would have been the second question, was was that your biggest hurdle, getting over that fear or discomfort of writing when that's not your forte or your chosen talent?
yeah, yes, yes, yes. But then after that, my second book, I I really was finished with my second book in about 3 months because I knew where I wanted to go with it after this one, after the hurdle of getting through this one. Yes.
Okay, so and that's what I thought, because the question would have been, and I thought about it. I said, I'll ask this question, but the answer is going to be different between the one that's the second one and the one I was subjected to first than the first one, because by the second one, you had a clear path. Your character was were already established. You didn't have to do character establish to establish the character. Zoella, I'm sure it didn't take her long because she kind of just joined the group. So, yeah, that was my question. I mean, I think that's why I hesitate doing when I was writing the blog with Belinda and I was writing the stories I wrote with her. It was more of it was structured, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
because I was just writing a continuation of something, but I never put in my head that it would be put together as a book. She wants me to do it, and I probably could, but again, I would have to feel that because in the episodes that I wrote for Friday at Sundown, I knew where I wanted to go if I looked at it like seasons. Um, but I didn't have an ending for that next season. I had the beginning of it, I had a
Right.
middle of it,
Right.
no resolution at the end. And she's going to look at this and she's going to call me and say, well, you're talking about it, so let's get to work. So I like to edit her. I like to edit her, what she's doing. Her book, it just came out recently. I have several copies of her book. And, and she'll be on the spotlight in a few weeks.
Wonderful.
But for my own personal, we'll see.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
There you go. Anyway,
It's going to happen.
anyway,
Just
um,
start. I just tell everybody, just start. Once you start, I know it can, like I'm saying, it can overwhelming. It can be a fear for you and all of that. But like I said, eventually that fear goes away. I think too, when you really start knowing, when you see yourself, okay. 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 You see, you like, you move a little more, and that helps a lot too. And having family talk with you, about what you're trying to uh succeed at and do. And then my husband, when I would write something, I would let him read it, and he was encouraging, very inspiring to me as well, and I missed that from him, with my second book. Let's see what you say. You see, I dedicated it to him.
I did. I
Yeah.
did.
And I really missed that. But just put your best foot forward and know that you can do it and you can be anything you want to be. You really can.
I, and I see in some of these that family does make a difference in some things. We The spotlight before this one, we talked to um Miss Proctor about caregiving. And this past Tuesday, she was actually at our church talking about caregiving. And she said when she started her company, she ran it past her family to
Mhm.
let them know what they were doing.
What they were doing. Yeah.
And a family thing is always good. That's always good. So we've reached the end. I have enjoyed this conversation.
I have as
Um,
well. I'm so glad I
I have
got this
family
time.
in the Hampton area, so if I'm ever down there, my granddaughter is one of her colleges. I'm not sure she hasn't settled on one yet, but it would not be surprising that if I'm down in that area visiting my cousins there, that I'll run over and see if you're working. So, are you working today, or you just happen to be in the office?
No, I'm working today. I'm
Wow.
working because we're scheduled to work like each month, a Saturday in each month.
Well,
And
if I ever head that way, I have my contact information for you. I will get in touch with you and maybe we can meet face to face.
can we do this?
I will definitely try. I
I
will,
want you to try. I have thoroughly enjoyed our
as
conversation.
did I, as did
I
I.
really did. I really did.
So, you did say some things to folks, but is there any closing remark you would like to say to your new friends? Because some people are going to watch this who never met you and never knew about the book. They will now. So, is there any closing remarks that you would like to make?
Yeah. My closing remark is just help your child develop. Help your child to develop. Take them to the library. You know, it doesn't cost you anything but just a card for them to have. Let them pick out the books that they would enjoy. But be mindful too of what they're reading. You want them to read something that they're going to enjoy. Um, Build them a home library. Start building them a home library so you all can take time, sit down, and read as a family and enjoy it. Make it fun for them. Make a little game out of it, whatever you want to do. But always remember that I'm going to stand up. Can I stand up?
Hmm.
See my shirt?
Read. That's a nice shirt.
Thank you. That's my message. Read.
Well, again, we appreciate you. I'll call you Phyllis instead of Miss Banks.
Hey, and I'm gonna call you James. Look,
I really appreciate you. And who knows, maybe we'll run across something else that we have to do another spotlight on.
wouldn't that be fun?
Bring you in for the kids. I got ideas. So
Hold on to them ideas, okay?
yeah, I just had another one. I'm not gonna share that one, but I'll share it with you when I flesh it completely out.
Okay, do that.
Well, thank you for coming on. Hang tight after this, but we're going to say goodbye to our viewers for now, and I appreciate you being here.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.